Wow, thank you, Judy. And I'm not used to such a formal setting. I know. Let's hope it never gets any more formal than this. Oh, thank you, Mary Jo, my sister Mary Jo, for choosing those amazing songs. So thank you. I just feel like after that, who needs words? Who needs more words? So let's take a moment and just close our eyes and settle into your chair. Feel your, what I say in my yoga classes often is feel your body supported, in this case, by your chair, your back against the backrest, and your bones at the root of it all in your body. And just settle in. Reading through the text in the course a week or two ago, I came across this amazing, simple line that just really stuck with me, became my mantra, and the simple phrase was, make room for God. It's so clear that you have made room for God here in this sanctuary. An outer environment for us to make room for God in our hearts and minds. And in fitting with the theme for the morning is this idea of allowing grace to come through. Yeah, if you try to be graceful, you'll fail. Grace comes through. In fact, it's probably the most natural thing we can do. We just got to remove the blockages and the barriers to grace. Mary Jo and I were on a hike this morning behind her house, and she shared with me, just kind of out of the blue, she said, yeah, great. She said, what's your topic today again? After putting all that music together. And so she said, oh, yeah. Yeah, what's it? What am I talking about? Yeah.
Oh, brother and sister.
All the same. It's a nice spin. Anyway, the point I wanted to make is that she came up with this nice definition that grace is an unearned gift. Maybe you guys have heard that. Grace is an unearned gift. And what that tells me is that grace can come through. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to please anybody. We don't have to please God. And that we could have never done anything wrong that would prohibit the allowance of grace to come through. Amazing grace. So, if grace is what we want, and if grace is what allows us to make decisions fluidly and efficiently and without effort, then we need only remove the barriers to grace, right? That to me is the yoga. Yoga is a huge part of my life, and that same idea to removing the barriers to real lasting truth, to real lasting freedom, is to remove the grievances and the barriers and the blockages that we hold in our hearts and minds. And so in the yoga, when we apply that same principle to the body, the results are really just as astonishing or miraculous when we embrace the pain and we gently use the various shapes to find the blockages in the body to remove the barriers to health and freedom and better blood flow and all these things in the body. And it's pretty nice. It's what a gift to be able to share that idea in total continuity. And so thank you. There was a good number of you who were here in the workshop yesterday. Had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. So To paraphrase Rumi, Rumi said, we need not seek for love. We need seek only find and remove the barriers to love. We can find a very, very similar sentence in the Course in Miracles. We need not seek for grace. We need only find and remove the barriers to grace. So I thought I'd start with good old lesson number 24. Where's... No! Not that one. Who knows lesson number 24 besides Kim? Yeah. It's intimidating. It's humbling. It's probably among the most humbling lines in the entire Course. Lesson number 24 says, I do not perceive my own best interests. And as if that's not enough, it starts out in the first paragraph. It says, in no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the result. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, which we know is always wrong. We all, hi, I'm Jeff, I have a perceptual problem, right? It's just that acknowledgement. Yeah, and then it says, and that perception is wrong. See, it just cuts right to the chase here. It is inevitable, then, that you will not serve your own best interest. Yet they are your only goal in any situation which is correctly perceived. Otherwise, you will not recognize what they are. So this is, to me, is the beauty of the yoga, to identify the blockages. If we can identify the resistance to what we really want, to the peace and the joy, and the result of which is effortless decision making. Wouldn't that be nice if every decision we ever made was, as the Course suggests here, as simple and gentle as walking along a summer path? In the zone, right? Really in the zone. Like we want to be the Michael Jordans of decision making, in the zone all the time. So then in this section of the text, your function in the atonement, just goes on to say here, before you make any decision for yourself, remember that you have decided against your function in heaven, and then consider carefully whether you want to make decisions here. As an ego mind, as seemingly separate individual selves, we have decided against our function in heaven, which is pure love, pure joy, pure grace. So if that's the case, Jesus is telling us here, if that's the case, do you really want to make decisions here? Your function is only to decide against deciding what you want, in recognition that you do not know. Just deeply, deeply humbling. Then it says, when you have learned how to decide with God, all decisions become as easy and as right as breathing. There is no effort, and you will be led as gently as if you were being carried down a quiet summer path. Only your own violation seems to make deciding hard. The Holy Spirit will not delay in answering your every question what to do. He knows, and He will tell you and then do it for you. So it becomes very clear that we really have but two decisions. We can decide for the ego and stand in our own defense and respond continually to the perception of the world and get strung along by outer dictates and outer desires and outer wants. It's like, I oftentimes think of this, of the spoke of a wheel, of a bicycle wheel, because it's so clear. You can see the spokes and then the tire that goes around and around. It spins very quickly. And the world is pulling us out, like the centrifugal force of a bicycle wheel. We get pulled out into the world. And it's our yoga to gently swim upstream and move toward the peaceful center of the hub. Because you can imagine that 26-inch wheel spinning around. At the very center of it is stillness. Perfect stillness at the center of that hub. We're not going to find it outside of ourselves, but we can gently, gently tune in, and the upstream swimming, the swimming against that centrifugal force, becomes easier and easier and easier as we realize what we truly want at the center. Buddha said that desire is the root of all suffering. Well, he was right in that desire for anything worldly is bound to cause suffering. So when we can get to that root desire for outer worldly solutions, to meet our outer worldly wants and needs, then we can begin to change our desire from one of external wants and demands to unify with the grace of God. Just close your eyes and rest in your bones. Just rest in the silence. You can hear, even in this quite quiet room, you can hear the sounds of the outer world. You can hear the occasional car go by, the sounds in the rooms. You may hear the sound of your own breathing. Even the body is external to the heart of the mind. In the 8 limbs of yoga, there's this idea of there's this practice of pratyahara, which is the practice of getting beyond the senses. And it doesn't mean we have to deny them. It doesn't mean we have to stop them or eliminate them. It just means that we slip past them. We stop making them so real. It's the 5 senses that carry us away, that pull us like centrifugal forces out into the world. And then we can smile at that. We can even begin to laugh at that notion. Like, wait a minute, what a ride, what a crazy ride. No, I'll opt for the peaceful center. The grace of God that gives eternally, peaceful and still. That's what I'll opt for, and from there I'll be guided. My decisions as effortless as walking down a summer path. Yes. A different section in the course, the decision for guiltlessness. And it's our decision for guiltlessness that leads us directly to the peaceful center. It says, in paragraph 11, it says, it will never happen that you must make decisions for yourself. You are not bereft of help, and help that knows the answer. Would you be content with little, which is all that you alone can offer yourself, when He, who gives you everything, will simply offer it to you? He will never ask what you have done to make you worthy of the gift of God. That sentence is a perfect reflection of what Mary Jo shared with me this morning. He will never ask what you have done to make you worthy of the gift of God, which really flies right in the face of the whole Protestant work ethic that I grew up with. We don't have to earn God's grace. There's nothing that we can do that would keep God's grace from coming through. Wow. And it says, I'll just read that sentence one more time. He will never ask what you have done to make you worthy of the gift of God. Ask if not, therefore, of yourself. Ask it not, therefore, of yourself. Okay. If He's not going to ask me, then I'm not going to ask myself. That's step number 2. Instead, accept His answer, for He knows that you are worthy of everything God wills for you. So He there is referring to the Holy Spirit, which is the voice for love, or the voice for God. The Holy Spirit's the memory of heaven that we took with us into the dream. Do not try to escape the gift of God He so freely and so gladly offers you. Don't get pulled out of your peaceful center, in other words. He offers you but what God gave Him for you. You need not decide whether or not you are deserving of it. God knows you are. The phrase, I need do nothing, keeps coming into my mind here. And it's one of the more misinterpreted lines from the Course. I meditated a lot on that line, I need do nothing. And then one day it came to me that I need do nothing is but a state of mind. I need do nothing as a state of mind in the perfect, peaceful center. And from there, I put one foot in front of the other. So once we've identified the obstacles and we choose against them, then we get to enjoy the solution. So, and if you've studied the Course enough, you start to realize that that's the way it plays. That's the yoga. I love the word yoga, which means to join, but to join we need only identify the blockages to our freedom, to our truth. So then in paragraph 16 it says, say to the Holy Spirit only, decide for me, and it is done. For His decisions are reflections of what God knows about you, and in this light, error of any kind becomes impossible. Why would you struggle so frantically to anticipate all you cannot know? I mean, how quickly we leap to conclusions when we know so little about the master plan. We know nothing about the master plan. Why would you struggle so frantically to anticipate all you cannot know, which to know what you can't know is desperation. That's probably a definition of desperation. When all knowledge lies behind every decision the Holy Spirit makes for you, learn of His wisdom and His love and teach His answer to everyone who struggles in the dark, for you decide for them and for yourself. How gracious it is to decide all things through Him, whose equal love is given equally to all alike. Any comments, questions, anything that you would just be inspired to share? Okay. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That was his.
Yeah, if there's a fork in the road, take it. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, man. Yeah. So that reminds me of Robert Frost's poem, The Road Less Traveled, where the traveler, which is us, comes upon the fork in the road. And after seeing that one's a little more traveled by and this and that, and there's some bushes and things. I can't remember all the details. Some of you probably have that memorized, Kim. But then he basically says, if you, this is the interpretation that I think that the Holy Spirit would give it. He basically chooses neither fork. Or, in other words, he took it. He took both. They're the same. The road less traveled is the one that leads to the peaceful center, our heart and mind, and from there we're guided. You could turn around and go the other way. You could blaze a trail through the woods. It doesn't matter which path you take, as long as we choose the one less traveled by. The trodden one is the one of anxiety and desperation and worldly wants and needs and demands, and the road more traveled by is the one that I believe I know what's best for me. It gets old very quickly, and it gets desperate very quickly. That's what makes Robert Frost's poem so timeless. It's our yoga to choose the road less traveled by. And I think I'll close here with a reading from lesson number 169, just the first paragraph. Lesson, oops, that's 165. Kim? Yeah, okay. Lesson 169. By grace I live, by grace I am released. Yeah, how great thou art. In the first paragraph it says, grace is an aspect of the love of God which is most like the state prevailing in the unity of truth. It's the world's most lofty aspiration. Isn't that cool? To live by grace and with grace is the world's most lofty aspiration. We all can aspire to be the Michael Jordans of our own lives and live in grace, for it leads beyond the world entirely. It is past learning, yet therefore of learning, for grace cannot come until the mind prepares itself for true acceptance. So this idea of grace is kind of it's a culmination of all of our work. When we've really done the work, when we really move to the peaceful center, grace in a way is the final gift. It even goes on to say further down in this lesson that all that's left is for God to take the last step. Grace becomes inevitable instantly in those who have prepared a table where it can be gently laid and willingly received. What's a table? But another word for the word altar that the Course uses a lot. And an altar is but a symbol of the mind. So grace becomes inevitable instantly to those who have prepared their mind, freed it of the grievances and the obstacles, where it can be gently laid and willingly received, and altered clean and holy for the gift. Join me one final time in closing your eyes and bringing your hands to your heart. An outer reflection, an outer symbol of the grace of God that lies quietly waiting at the center . Namaste. All right, thank you so much. Yeah. Mm-hmm.